think it's what like I think it's like some of the guys that I ride with or have ridden with, they're like, oh, my girlfriend hates mountain biking. I took her out once and she'll never do it again. So I'm like, oh, like what did you do? Like, where did you take her? Like, what did you do with her? What was it that you did with her on the mountain bike just to see? And it's always the same old story. Like, oh, we went on like a 20-kilometer loop, like a nice sort of XC trail. Like, I was like, oh, so first time she's ever been on a mountain bike, and she doesn't do much fitness. You decide to take her on a 20-kilometer like loop, and you're wondering why she hated it. Like, you wonder. Like, so it's sort of having that good first experience, I think, is a huge part of it. Like, no matter whether you're starting with your boyfriend or you're going out on a group ride, it's just sort of having a really fun introduction to the sport.
Hello, my name's Morgan and welcome back to the Content Collective's Derailed podcast. This week on the show we have Alyssa Podesta. To be honest, I didn't know an awful lot about Alyssa before the podcast, but I learned a bunch. She's a really interesting woman. She got into the sport at 27, which is a little bit later. She grew up surfing, so we talked about some of the differences between surfing and mountain biking. Talked about women in mountain biking, the difference in sort of attitudes and sexism between the mountain bike community and the surfing community. We talked about her role in the sport and a whole bunch of other stuff. I really liked her. We had a great conversation. I think you're going to really enjoy it. If you do, please like, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, we're going to jump in now to my conversation with Alyssa. I hope you enjoy. Alyssa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting to you. How was your weekend?
Really boring. I'm not gonna lie.
You said you. Sorry.
Yeah, out of action. I'm out of action, so I'm just sort of at home walking the dog, getting really like upset watching everyone have fun in the sun. But what are you gonna do?
And
it just
how did you hurt yourself?
Well, I was mountain biking, but at the time I was just pushing up and I slipped like an old lady.
You were just pushing up?
Yeah.
I
didn't even have a cool story. I don't have any like, oh, I was doing like a big drop, or it was literally just I slipped.
And did you fall? You landed awkwardly and just dislocated your shoulder?
I didn't even fall on the floor. I basically pushed, like my feet were going, so I pushed the bike in front of me to sort of, like, I don't know, like hold on to it. But I think the force of me slipping and the bike going forward just ripped it out.
That's awful. And how you said you dislocated it before as well? How long ago was the first
that was so embarrassing too. that was about 6 years ago, and I was skateboarding, and I dropped in. I don't know what happened. I just landed on it. So that's how I dislocated them.
Did you go forward, or did you do the worst?
I went forward. I just went straight into it.
Thrown back.
Oh no, I was too far
You
forward.
Went forward.
You
just dropped from the top down to the bottom.
I just like went straight on it.
No.
And then I was in a bowl, so I couldn't get out of the bowl, obviously, because I dislocated my shoulder. So then it was so embarrassing. It was.
Did you get an ambulance?
Yeah, like I couldn't get out. Like the boys at the skate park made me like a little sling out of their t-shirt, and
Really?
It was just really embarrassing.
Are you quite a good skateboarder?
No, I used to just like drop in and like that's about like just like pump around the bowl and whatever, and that was it. Yeah. So I wasn't very good at all, but that was my favorite thing to do. And then after that, it hurt so much, and I had gigs lined up as well, and the whole summer was ruined. It was right at the beginning of summer, so I was like, I'm done now. I'm not doing this anymore.
Totally. How do you find coping with injuries like this?
I just get really frustrated. I guess anyone does, don't they? If you're into sport or doing stuff, like it's the worst thing in the world being stuck at home, not doing anything. Like there's only so much you can do. And I broke my coccyx like a few months ago, so
that's quite a gnarly one, is it not?
Yeah, like that was shit. That was really shit. Yeah.
That would be awful. That was just a few months ago. You're worse than me. Like... I thought I was bad.
But that's a funny thing. Like I don't normally hurt myself. I've gone for years without hurting myself. Yeah. Since mountain biking, I've not done anything like at all to myself. So I was like, cool. Like I've mastered not having accidents. And then within the space of 6 months, I've managed to make up for it. So
That's crazy. I think there's because I've actually been kind of the same. I hurt myself in the summer, but I had a sort of period of not really riding that much, and I think when you have one injury and then you don't get you're not getting the experience, you're not getting the sort of practice, and then you come
yeah.
back and you wanna like you're trying to do what you were doing before you hurt yourself, and then you just hurt yourself again.
Oh, definitely. And especially with lockdown, like, let's be honest, it's if you don't live right next to trails, it's quite hard to ride as much as you used to ride, which is what I find. So then you still think you're as fast or like as fit as you were or as good as you were, and then you get to it and you're like, this is actually a little bit sketchier than last time I was here because I was riding all the time before.
Totally. Yeah, you don't realize until you hurt yourself as well.
Yeah, until it's too late.
Totally.
Basically.
How have you been finding this second lockdown?
Well, we're in our third now.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, like you guys seem to just have it easy.
It feels hard. We're in Scotland.
Yeah, well, we just like keep having lockdowns. Like Mark Drakeford, he's just like, oh yeah, go back into lockdown. Oh, back to lockdown again. So we've pretty much been in lockdown for like the whole year now. I haven't seen anyone for so long, and I'm working from home, so it's just a bit. I'm over it. I'm not even like before, like you kind of the first lockdown, I think everyone's like, yeah, it's gonna be fine, we're gonna get through this. Second lockdown, it's like, oh, this is actually pretty crap now. And then the third lockdown, like me and most of my friends are just, I think, in I don't know, the depths of despair right now. We're just over it.
Hard. Absolutely. And even harder now that you've hurt yourself, I'd imagine.
Oh, it's just, yeah. It's fine, I've got a dog.
What do you do then when you hurt yourself or you're in lockdown, you can't ride?
Well, it's only been one weekend, so it's just walking at the moment. Walking, moving as much as I can, trying to do as much as I can with the shoulder just to get it going again. And then I think this week I'm going to start doing a little bit of training with it, just sort of gentle exercises, and then work up from there. Maybe even get on Zwift as well later on in the week, and because I'm hoping that's not going to hurt, but just try and keep my fitness up until I can get back on the bike.
Do you have anything? Is there anything sort of non-physical as well that you do? You mentioned doing gigs. I think you play music. Is that right?
Yeah, I used to all the time. Now I don't. Mountain biking's kind of taken over. It seems to be like I used to surf and gig all the time. That was like the two things that I did, and now I didn't expect mountain biking to take over, but it's just become, I don't know, like, after work, on the weekends, like it's become, it's just everything else is sort of fallen to one side. So yeah, now it's weird. It's just, I didn't expect mountain biking to actually become, I don't know, it sounds so cheesy, like a lifestyle. I didn't expect it to be anything more than like, I don't know, twice a month. And
but you just enjoy it so much.
Yeah, like it's just I thought it was quite a deep dweeby sport when I first heard of. I grew up in South Wales, so I should have known about mountain biking. So obviously it's pretty big here, and most people do it. But I didn't know anything about it. I had no idea what mountain biking was until I was introduced to it. I was like, actually, this is pretty fun, and that was the end of it. Then I got a bike. I spent $2,500 on a bike, which is crazy. Absolutely, when I'd only done it 3 times before. I was like, this will be a gym membership. I'll use it as a gym membership. And and that was the end of it. Turned into an actual full-blown
proper lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah, hobby lifestyle. So cheesy.
So how did you get into it?
Oh gosh. I think this is like such a good answer. I had a boyfriend who did it. And yeah, he did it, and he was like racing. He did like the EWS and all this sort of stuff. So he was obviously riding all the time and training all the time. And I basically just kind of nagged him to take me out. And that was that. So he took me out a few times. And I loved it. It was just sort of, I don't know, like it just clicked. It was something I was like, this is actually really good fun. Like a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be super boring. But yeah, it just clicked. I just wanted to do it.
You mentioned like you had a sort of perception of it before you knew much about mountain biking, that it was a bit dweeby, like it's something that
it's so harsh. Sorry.
It's quite interesting. It's really interesting. It's
Sorry
not
for all
harsh
the
though.
people I've been mountain biking for so many years.
I can definitely see where it comes from. Like my girlfriend would probably sort of tease me for it to be 2B or something, and I can see how, because like there's a lot of people that, especially people that are just like super into just like more so than surfing, you know, like 'cause surfing's it's just a like a thing that floats, and I mean I'm sure you can get quite into like the fins and everything and stuff, but mountain biking is like there's a whole like it's really technical and it attracts. It does definitely have a. I can see. Was
It's
that part of
definitely a
your
geeky
sort of
sport.
perception of it? Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
it's
can
for
be. Yeah.
sure. Like that's what I thought it was. I thought it was like a bit of a lame sport. I'm not gonna lie. When he said he did it, I was like, it's not that cool. Like it's not a cool
Yeah.
sport.
Especially
Yeah.
compared to surfing, it doesn't have. I don't suppose it has the image of that
It
surfing
hasn't got
has.
the cool factor, is it? Let's be honest. I think it has now. Like to be honest, now that I'm like I do all the time and obviously watch all like the World Cups and all the enduro races, you're like, oh, actually, no, it's a cool sport. There's some really cool people in the sport, but from an outsider, for sure, I really did think it was a proper nerdy sport.
Just like sort of guys in lycra.
Yeah, like lycra, but like even just like just like the whole like thing, like I don't know, it just has a weird. Now I think it's cool, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a cool sport. If someone said they mountain bike, but that's cool. Whereas before, I was like, no, that's a bit dweeby.
It is interesting seeing people's or getting like because how old were you when you got into it?
I think 27, so only almost 4 years now, almost.
Yeah, so like because I've been into it since I mean from probably like 8 or 9, I was just like kind of obsessed with any action sport, and then mountain biking was the one I guess that was the most accessible. So I've just kind of like it just especially you're so impressionable, you know, at that age when you're young and
Yeah.
stuff, and so I followed the World Cups, followed other people, and just thought it was like you know the coolest thing ever. So it's I can't even imagine like sometimes I'll watch a downhill race or something, and I try to imagine what it looks like for someone that doesn't follow the sport at all, and like whether
Yeah.
I'm like does this just look really weird, like guys wearing these like weird clothes racing between all these rocks and stuff. Like how did you look at like what were you watching or seeing like before you knew much about it?
Well, he used to watch like the World Cup when it was on, so like every Sunday he'd have it on or whatever. So I watch it with him, like out of respect to him liking his sport. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll watch it with you, cool. And yeah, when I first like started watching, I was like, this is like so stupid. They're like hurtling down a mountain, and then like obviously I'll ask questions like, oh, like what's so hard about that? Like they're like, oh yeah, that doesn't look hard. Like that's so easy. And then he'd be bickering, but yeah, it was like I didn't get it like at the beginning. I was kind of like, I don't quite understand why that is fun. To me it just looks dangerous and like very high risk, and then obviously when you do it, it's actually like, no, this is really good because you can go wherever you want to go with it. So
Was
yeah,
seeing
as
the
an
sort of
outsider.
was seeing like that extreme side of the sport, like the racing and especially downhill racing, that was like almost did that kind of turn you off almost in a way?
No, not like I'm really competitive. So like no, because the surfing I used to compete all the time. So I get that side of sport. Like I get, you want to improve, you want to progress, you want to be fitter than your competitors. I get the whole thing. So I found it quite interesting, like learning about a different sport and also like how you get to the top, like what makes you a better mountain biker than someone else, or what makes you better at jumping. So I found it really interesting, like at the start, to like just learn about a sport that I'd never actually had any introduction to. I didn't even know what mountain biking was. I kind of thought it was like XC. I kind of thought that was it. There was no other side to it. And then obviously you see the more gnarly side, and it's a proper eye opener. When I was watching it for the first time, I was like, bloody hell! Like these guys are pretty mental to be doing that. And then it makes you think, like, can I do that? Or like, can I have a go doing that? Like, what is the start of that? How do you go from the beginning to that? So Yeah.
So actually seeing that side of things was more like actually attracted you into the sport.
Yeah, I think the first time I ever went riding was when I was just like, this is awesome. This is a different, like, surfing obviously is an amazing sport, but with mountain biking, I think it's so much easier to do. Like surfing, you need to be surfing for years to be really good at it. Like, and you have to be in all the time to be good. Whereas mountain biking, yes, you have to ride a lot, but it's also a mental game with what you think you can do. Like, can you get down that section? Like, how fast can you go down that trail? Like, it's all about sort of having a battle with your fitness, but also that mental game. That's what I see it as. So the first time I went on like a trail and it was all burmy, like it was like a nice flowy blue, I was like, this is just so good, because I didn't expect it to be, I don't know, that. I just thought it was going to be a bit boring.
That's interesting.
But yeah, good. I think it's a bloody good sport.
It is, yeah. It's one of the best. For me, it's like surfing. It's interesting. I want to talk to you about this a bit later, but I've been getting into surfing in the last sort of I don't know, 6 months or something. I've been wanting to get into it for ages, but what's appealing about surfing is just like being in the ocean, and then it's a sport sort of similar, like balance based kind of sport, a bit like mountain biking. It's some similar kind of culture, I would say. But yeah, it's one of those sports that's just great to enjoy the outdoors and just have another thing to be focusing on while also just bobbing around, in the sea or something. And mountain biking, I think, is it's like there's nothing else quite there's nothing quite as good to sort of travel around the country in, do you know? Like, you can go up mountains, into forests, and you've got this fun thing that you're doing sort of the whole time, this thrill on the way down.
Yeah, I've seen, because obviously I know the coastline pretty well around the UK from driving about, but I've never actually gone inland, so it's been amazing going. Like, I've never been to the Lake District or the Peak District until of Scotland. Like, I've been to all these places now that I've never been to before, or even North Wales. Like, I think I've been there once before. So it's been pretty incredible to actually know that I've got so much so close to me that, you can just get in the car and drive and go to some of the best trails in the world. Let's be honest, we've got some incredible tracks. Which, yeah, it's like surfing offers a freedom, but mountain biking, just in the UK, I think we've got everything. Like, that's just how cool it is. With surfing, like, we don't have the best waves in the world. We've got good waves. I'm not saying that we don't, but we don't have the best. Whereas we've got some of the best trails going.
Absolutely, yeah, all over the place too. Like, especially down in Wales.
Yeah, I didn't even know South Wales had so much to offer at all. It's only over the last year that, I suppose, lockdown as well, we've found so much, like, because we've been riding from our door, the amount of trails that people are building, and it's just crazy how much everyone's digging. And yeah, it's just such a cool sport, and it's a really nice community as well, which I think, don't you? If you mountain bike, there's a great community.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. One of the reasons I want to get into surfing is because it's a good way to explore the coastline, because I'm the opposite. I've been to all this sort of like forests and hills and stuff and seen so much of that through mountain biking. But a sport gives you a great excuse, to go and just like experience a place, or it's just a great way to experience, a place. And mountain biking, yeah, there is so much of it all over the UK.
I know. I wish I got into it years ago. I'm kind of gutted that I didn't have that opportunity to start when I was younger, because I feel like I've missed out on, like, just obviously I'm like seeing loads of stuff and I'm getting out and about, but it would have just been nice to have done that a lot earlier to sort of, I don't know, like, know where everything is, because I'm still finding loads of stuff, or getting it, like, mates take you here riding, or we go to Scotland and then you run into someone that kind of, and they show you loads of trails, and it's amazing. But I just feel like I've missed out on, like, so much fun because I've come into it a bit later on. And even racing, like, I would have loved to have done it when I was a hell of a lot younger, to actually have a chance at being, really, really good.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just one of those things, isn't it? I guess, surfing is that you start a sport and you're like, oh, bloody hell, this is so good. Why didn't I start ages ago?
Totally. Do you think then you'd have rather got into mountain biking earlier than surfing, or would you want to do them both?
Yeah, I think so.
Really?
I think I'd rather, yeah, because with surfing, it's just, unless you live by the beach, which I did for like quite a few years, like you need to be living by the beach and be getting in every single day to be good. Like that's what you do. Whereas mountain biking, and obviously with surfing, you've got the tides, you've got like the swell, like you've got all these things they have to factor in. Whereas in mountain biking, doesn't matter if you say 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. or 2 p.m., you just go, and the trails will be wet, dry, like whatever, like they're there. Whereas the surfing, it's just so much harder, I think. Like your whole life revolves around a bloody tide chart and looking at magic seaweed. That's it. You've got to drop work when it's good, like, or you're sitting in the car waiting for an hour for it to get better. Whereas mountain biking, you don't do that. You don't sit in the van for an hour waiting for the trails to get better, unless it's really, really wet, like raining. You're like, oh, maybe I'll give it 10 minutes, see if the rain stops. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, climbing, like mountaineering and rock climbing, ice climbing are the same as well. Like a lot of the other outdoor sports in the UK do have those much more weather dependent, whereas mountain biking, and especially being in the UK as well, we don't get our winters aren't so cold, so it's something that just you don't even have to think about the weather. You just go out and ride.
It's great.
Totally.
It's great. Although, how do you find it up in Scotland? Don't you just get sick of the rain?
It definitely gets sick of the rain, especially this time of year. I mean, I would have thought Wales would be about the same. It's a bit darker maybe up here, a tiny bit, but you just kind of don't think about it. I actually think it's better almost in the winter because it's hard to. A lot of people who aren't into sports like that, they just don't get outside in the winter. Whereas if you have something like running or cycling or something, then you don't have to really worry about warmth because you're sort of doing it the whole time, and then and you're getting outside. So by the end of the day, even though you come back and it's dark at 3:00, but you feel like you've been outside.
Yeah, it's been raining all day.
Sorry, I was asking. Sorry, I had internet trouble. Do you think you faced any additional challenges getting into mountain biking as a woman in a fairly male sort of dominated sport? Less so these days than you would have if you were a guy.
I think when I first started mountain biking, because we broke up or whatever, so I didn't have my own bike, obviously. So then I left it like a year before I got my own mountain bike. And like this is just, I think maybe one sort of, maybe some girls feel like this. I personally didn't feel comfortable going into a bike shop and talk, because obviously like most bike shops are male dominated, like let's be honest. So I personally didn't feel comfortable going into a bike shop and saying, hey, yeah, I've mountain biked 3 times. Can I spend $2,500 on a bike? I felt like I'd be laughed at. Like, I genuinely felt that would be something a guy would be like, oh, you don't need like this bike or full sus. You want to get this hardtail over here that's 600 quid. So I actually got my first bike like off like online without having even tried it, because I was too like chicken to go into a shop and talk to a guy about getting a bike. So I feel like, yeah, there's definitely like, well, even like talking to girls I ride with, I think there's still quite a lot of, I don't know, like it's not as well developed as a lot of sports. I don't feel like it's as inclusive as it should be just yet. But I think people, especially like on the female side of it, I think there's a lot of women like wanting to get more women into the sport and wanting to sort of like, you know, sort of bridge that gap of like women feeling comfortable, especially on uplifts. Like if you've ever been on uplift, there's how many guys on a bus and how many
those
girls.
Are especially kind of male dominated.
I've been wolf whistled in car parks off guys, like in like, you know, bike parks. I've had guys like wolf whistling at me while I'm getting changed, which I think is so pathetic. Like, and that to me, like I'm quite a strong person, so I don't care. It's just get away from me. But I think if you're a girl, to have that happen to you, or like whatever, a woman, and you've got guys making like, I don't know, inappropriate comments, that's not going to help women want to stay in the sport at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, I've had so like I could write a list of all the things like guys have said to me or like made comments of, which, you know, I think a lot of girls would probably be like, this is not the sport for me.
So yeah, it only takes one thing like that could easily, or even just a perception that something like that is going to happen, probably stops a lot of women from even, you know, starting to get into the sport.
Yeah, for sure. I've just had, it's weird how like guys feel that it's okay to make, comments, like maybe like about your body, or like just being a girl, or like I remember at Ford one time, me and my friend were just like, me and my other girlfriend were just practicing the jumps there, and there's guys that like feel the need to be like, oh, you want to be doing it this way, and it's like, but they can't even clear them themselves. They're not even clearing the jump, so they're like making comments. But as a girl, it's just sort of like who are you? We did not ask for your help. We're just riding our bikes, having fun. Like, but you're not like a coach or anything. You can't even do it yourself. So, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of women might feel that some guys can be a little bit douchey.
I'm sure they do, and a lot as well don't want to talk about it for fear of, I don't know, complaining or something. Do you think there's a perception of that?
I don't know. It's a hard one. I think I'm probably a little bit more outspoken. I don't know. I think
as you're saying things that I'd imagine, like if that's happening to you, it's got to be happening to lots of women.
Yeah, like I know loads of girls that like literally say, oh, you know, this guy said this to me on the trail, or like, oh, can I go first? Like that's another one. Like you're about to drop in, and the guy goes, oh, do you mind if I go first? And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, sure, go first, because I'd love to catch you up. It's sort of like, that's just not cool to assume that all girls, like, you'd never say that to a grown man, would you? You'd never say to a grown man, like, oh, do you mind if I go first, mate? Because, you know,
just based on how
doesn't look so manly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so dumb.
Totally.
But yeah, I think there's probably a lot of women that have had similar incidents to like me, or, you know, other girls that I know for sure. It's just a bit sad. But I think it's getting better. I don't have half as many like issues anymore. When I first got into sport, I had so many like stupid comments made. Like, if she can jump like that, I wonder what. No, if she can ride like that, I wonder what else she can ride. Like literally, and they said it to my guy mates I was riding with. They were like watching, but who says that? Like, it's so inappropriate.
Do you think I feel like there has been a shift just recently in the last, maybe partly linked to the Me Too and stuff. There was someone I was laughing. I'm looking at Pink Bike the other day because someone made a comment, some sexist comment, that just wasn't very funny, and also it was besides the point, it's a sexist comment, and then ended up like everyone sort of berated him for it, and then he apologized like within about 3 comments. He said it, and it was dumb and stupid, and everyone was like, because usually the pink bike comments would be, I mean, not like, certainly when I first like got into it, that was like very normal, but here it is someone, I was thinking like, where else, what other cultures, like you wouldn't see that on a YouTube comment. It made me feel kind of heartened to be part of this kind of community, that someone's making a sexist comment on an internet forum, and then is immediately sort of apologizing for it.
And like you hope that's the case for everything, don't you? Like, for sure. And I hope as it, like, the sport develops and more women come into it, we won't have as many, like, I don't know, like just guys being, I don't know, guys.
How do you think it compares? How do you think like mountain biking compares to normal life? Or surfing, or other sort of areas of your life, like sort of sexism in mountain biking. How does that compare to elsewhere?
Oh man, it's so, like, surfing's completely different. I think like surfing's got the whole battle of, there's a lot of attractive women that surf, obviously. Like, if you look at surfer girls, they're beautiful, tanned, like blonde hair, long brown hair, whatever, like bikini perfect bodies. And so that's, I think, a different ball game. That's like a whole different level of sexism right there, because like a lot of women, I know, like from when I was surfing and like competing and stuff, some girls were given sponsorship because they're pretty. And then, you know, some girls would miss out on that because they didn't fit this marketing, you know, strategy that brand was going for. So I don't think mountain biking's can be compared, because I don't think there is any of that with mountain biking. I don't think a girl has an advantage over another girl because of the way that she looks, or like, you know, I don't know. I don't feel like that's so much of an issue in mountain biking. I think mountain biking is pretty fair. Like, if you can offer brands things, or, you know, if you're not going to get the same stick as as female surfers do. Because I think it's just over sexualized surfing, and everyone knows it. Like anyone that is a surfer knows that women get a bit of a hard time. Like if you don't fit that sort of category of being drop dead gorgeous, like it's still a debate now about why at comps cameramen are zooming in on girls' butts, and that well their competitors are athletes, and like it's getting so much better now because obviously girls kick off about it and they're saying it's out of order. But with mountain biking, I wouldn't say it was that bad. I think mountain biking, all the guys I ride with, and most, like I'd say 90% of the guys I've ever met have been nice, like genuinely lovely people and super supportive, like really encouraging, offering like just whatever their expertise and whatever it is that they do, or whatever riding it is that they like are into. So I don't know, I think they're two different things. I think mountain biking will get there. The more girls that come into the sport, the more it just become a norm. You sit on an uplift and there'll be more girls. Like you go out for a ride, there'll be more girls.
Totally. Which will change everything. I suppose like the sexism breeds in a sport when there isn't enough women to kind of be like to check the behavior or even just the patter of, like you mentioned uplift buses, and it's interesting because I was talking to I watched a motocross video the other day, and it started with this guy. It started with what someone else like just thought was weird and sexist, and the guy was like a Monster Energy athlete, and then I was thinking about like Monster just as a sort of anything that like Monster do is just horrendously sexist, and they don't care at all. They only sponsor men. You don't get, I don't think, like Monster athletes. They sponsor like motocross, I'd imagine, is even sort of more sexist. And then I was thinking like mountain biking's not really like that, but I was thinking the type of mountain bikers that are probably most like that are the ones like back in my day, like the downhillers, or like the ones in the uplift, is probably a slightly worse culture than like I think enduro, I'd imagine, is a bit more like people like is a bit more welcoming, a bit less like that.
Yeah, like I think, I don't know, like I think as I've been riding for 3.5 years, and I think as when I got into the sport, I felt like there was no women at all, like that. I just didn't know any girls that rode bikes, and it was really hard to meet girls that rode bikes. So I mainly rode with guys because it was easier to ride with guys than it was to find girls. But yeah, I think when it comes to sort of like the uplifts and the enduro scene, most guys now are really nice. You get the sort of the backward, the guys that just are muppets, but they're like, I don't know, they seem to be becoming like few and far between now. Like from my own personal experience, like I don't get as much grief as I got at the beginning. So maybe because more women are coming to the sport, like it's sort of, they realize that it's not actually like, oh wow, a girl's on the uplift, oh, the girls. And also I think the way that women are progressing as well within the sport, there's so many like girls coming into this sport now that are actually really pushing it, like, and that are good riders. There's not like just a couple of good riders, there's a lot of good riders coming through. And I think as well, like that maybe for men, like it shows that actually there's these girls can rip, like they can actually ride bloody hard and they can keep up, and all, they can send jumps just as big as us. So it's only just going to push the sport forward to a point that hopefully it's just, it's just a normal, it's like it's just like there's no judgment for being a girl, or I don't know, hopefully girls will start feeling comfortable going to bike shops. I'm sure there's loads of girls that do now, but when I was started, I did not feel comfortable going into a bike shop and having a chat with someone that worked there. I thought I'd be laughed at.
That's fascinating. It seems to be happening like in a lot of sports, and just probably just generally. But like women's football is getting more and more sort of publicity, and is more and more respected. Yeah, exactly.
It's getting really big.
Yeah, and mountain biking, you're right. The depth of the field now, especially in like cross country, it seems like almost there's the same depth to the field as there is in the men's. And downhill's definitely there's a lot more women competing in the World Cups and stuff, which can only be a good thing.
Yeah, it's like when I started watching like the World Cups and stuff, there weren't that many women, and to be honest, obviously they didn't show as many of the women as they do the men that race. And hopefully, like, like there's, you probably know because you ride all the time, and you're part of a community. You know that there's still a big divide when it comes to women racing, and even with the EWS and the downhill, it's not equal numbers that are allowed to get through. So like I can only hope that as the years go on now, or not even like that far in the future, that people start recognizing that unless they start pushing women forward and start offering them opportunities, and I'm not just talking for races, I'm just talking as in like having more female ride outs so women can meet each other, or just having it more accessible, is only going to be better for the sport in the long run, because you're opening up a huge market of like for people buying bikes. Like, why would you want to discourage it? Like, in my eyes, like, why would you want to only give the men the opportunities when you could push more women into sport and get 50% more revenue? Like, it's just totally. It could be a way bigger industry than it is already, just by getting more women into it.
What do you think are the best ways to encourage more women into the sport?
That's a hard one.
It's a tough question.
It's a tough question, because I think it completely depends on like what sort of person you are. I really do. I think like just cycling, like just getting out on your bike, I think that's, to me, that's the biggest. I think just go and ride your bike, whatever bike you have. Like, it doesn't need to be a super duper bike, and just go from there. I think for women, there's like, I know loads of like Facebook groups that you can join. Obviously you can go on like Pink Bike, and there's forums, there's loads of things that you can sort of contact people. But the mountain bike groups for women online, they always like say they're going to ride here, or someone will say, I'm riding Avan tomorrow at 10, who wants to come? So, or people say, listen, I've just started mountain biking, is there anyone that's new to the sport that wants to go riding sometime? So I think that's probably, if you want to get into the sport, to get onto Facebook and join some of these like women only groups, and basically just put yourself out there. And if you don't have the budget for a bike, just buy a bike that is within your budget. Get a second-hand bike, because that's the biggest thing, let's be honest, is buying kit and bikes, helmets, like the lot. It's really expensive to get into this sport. But if you want to get into it, there are ways. Even hiring bikes for the temporary sort of fix, just to make sure you want to do it. But
do you think having, we just did a podcast last week, we're going to release for International Women's Day, and we've got a group of women together to talk about a bunch of things, but also like this issue, which is encouraging more women into riding. And a lot of there was one of the women in the podcast runs groups trying to get like schoolgirls into mountain biking, and she also runs women only rides, which seems to be one of like and especially with your story of not wanting to go into a bike shop and stuff, like having women only groups, women only bike shops, maybe women only brands. Do you think that is a good way to get more women into the sport?
Oh, definitely. Like obviously, like being with Liv Cycling, like, to be honest, they're such an awesome brand to be a part of. Like, it's everything that I stand for, like I believe in. Like, I think there needs to be things for women, like, yeah, whatever, buy a man's bike, it doesn't matter, like if it fits you better or suits you better, whatever it is. But yeah, for Liv, like, I do ride outs when it's not in COVID and lockdown. I do women only ride outs once a month, and I do like beginner ride outs, so we'll do like your basic blue runs, or like blue trails, and then intermediate. But I think that like there's so many girls that meet each other on those rides, which I think it's a good way. Like, some women like don't want to ride with guys, then that's totally fair enough. Maybe they've had bad experiences, or they just like the company of women. So yeah, definitely the ride out. Like, I think having only women ride outs are fab, because a lot of women just want to like hang out with another group of girls, like other girls. And then there's the huge debate, like, well, why just have it open to everyone? But if it gets people riding, does it matter? Like, to me, I think if you having a women's only, a girl only event, and it's getting women there and it's successful, then it's kind of proven the point, isn't it, that women want that. They feel maybe more comfortable in that environment to start off with.
Totally.
I can only speak for myself, but
it seems like, I mean, everyone, like women I speak to, that's such a barrier, not just mountain biking, but just sport in general. Going to the gym, like, you know, gyms are generally sort of male dominated, so women don't want to be in that space when they know. And it's like, if it was sort of 50-50, then you wouldn't need to have women only riders, because it would be like, oh, I'll go for this group ride, and I know there's going to be a bunch of women there too, to sort of balance out.
Yeah, I think
men does. Sorry.
I think it's probably an ability thing as well, like, because it can be quite intimidating riding with people that are way better than you. Like, it can be like, oh God, they're so good, they're so fit. Like, how am I going to keep up with them? They're going to be waiting for me, like, at the bottom of the trail. So I think when you've got like these women specific groups where it's sort of, you're in your comfort zone, like you haven't got to worry about, your fitness, or you haven't got to worry about the grade of the trail, because it's going to be a certain trail that maybe you've done before, or you just know that, it's going to be a nice flow trail. I think, yeah, if it gets girls riding and they get to meet like not like awesome new friends, like the amount of like girlfriends that I've met from it that are like just some of my closest mates now is so awesome.
Absolutely, that'll snowball as well, because then you said at the beginning, it's such a, you're almost embarrassed that you're sort of rooted into mountain biking was so stereotypical of women, having like a guy or boyfriend get you into it. But the more women that you have in these groups who are getting into it, they're going to get their friends into it, which is a much better way. I'd imagine women getting women into mountain biking is better than boyfriends getting women into mountain biking or whatever it is.
I think as well, like, I think it's like some of the guys that I ride with or have ridden with, they're like, oh, my girlfriend hates mountain biking. I took her out once and she'll never do it again. So I'm like, oh, like, what did you do? Like, where did you take her? Like, what did you do with her? What was it that you did with her on the mountain bike, just to see? And it's always the same old story. Like, oh, we went on like a 20-kilometer loop, like a nice sort of XC trail. I was like, oh, so first time she's ever been on a mountain bike, and she doesn't do much fitness. You decide to take her on a 20-kilometer like loop, and you're wondering why she hated it. Like, you wonder, like, so it's sort of having that good first experience, I think, is a huge part of it. Like, no matter whether you're starting with your boyfriend or you're going out on a group ride, it's just sort of having a really fun introduction to the sport. So I think, yeah, with like women, like I don't know, I think this is such an amazing sport, and it would be so nice to see more women like just come into it, like from different, like not just their partners, but being like, oh, I saw that online, that looks really fun, I'm going to go and do it.
Totally.
And also having just sort of information. When I started riding, I didn't know what bike to buy or what kit to wear, so like having that information online that women can get hold, like, you can sort of like see what you should be buying, what protection.
Yeah. How powerful do you think having women only brands like Liv Cycling, Liv Cycles is?
Oh, I think really powerful. I think it's really like Liv. I think are really cool. I think it's such, for them to like separate themselves from Giant and be like, we're going to do this and do it properly. Like having like their bikes, specifically designed like geometry wise for women, and having, there's like the women that are designed, like, well, there's women designing them, so it's not just male dominated where it's just a guy thinking what a girl wants. It's actually women behind the scenes doing it. I think, like, to me that's awesome, because it's not a half-assed like, oh yeah, we just painted it a girl's color frame, which is, like, let's be honest, some brands do that. They've got this really nice female specific bike. It's like, no, you just change the bar length and you put a nice spray job on it, a pretty spray job that a girl might want. Like, so I think with Liv, yeah, as a brand, I think they're only gonna, like, their road bikes, how successful are those? They're just huge. Whenever I go out in my local area, most of the girls have Liv bikes. Like, it's just, and you go to Canada and there's loads of women on Liv bikes. It's just bloody cool to see, I don't know, just this brand that's dedicated to what women want. and trying to like improve the sport and trying to like just encourage women to get out riding. And like when they said the first time they contacted me, they were just like, we just want people to ride bikes. That's all we want. That's all we want. We don't care what bike it is. We don't care if it's like not a Liv. We just want them to ride bikes and have fun, whether that's commuting to work, going out with the kids on the weekends, like, or, you know, mountain, whatever that is, just to ride bikes and get out there. Like that's what the brand is about. It's just really encouraging women to just ride.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting.
So as a brand, yeah, I think they're at the top of their game. Like they have in the, I know the EWS were a bit of a, you know, mess last year because of COVID, but they were supporting, you know, the women's EWS side. Like how cool is that? And they're having women's rides at the events. Like to me, that's just super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because I hadn't thought much about it, but thinking about it, most women I see out riding are either on like a Liv Cycles bike or the Santa Cruz brand. I forget.
Juliana.
Yeah, Juliana. Like
yeah.
They tend to like women. If like women will ride the one specifically designed for them if they're available, like almost exclusively. I think actually.
I actually went. So the first bike I got was a Liv bike. Even though I looked at loads of different bikes, like, but in my head I was like, I want a bike that is built for women. I didn't know anything about like geometry. I didn't know anything about like different makes or how cool a make is or whatever. But for me, I was like, I want a bike that is designed for me, for a woman. And I know there's a huge debate where like some women like, does it like, I want a bike that just fits me, and that's fine because everyone is built completely differently. So like I'm not even going to start that debate. But for me, I wanted to have a bike that a bit of thought had gone into it for like me as a woman, because the surfboards that I have made, they're designed for me, my body shape. They're designed for my weight, my height, like for like, you think obviously women are more top heavy, so it's sort of having a bit more volume in that section of the board. So that's the same thought process I took towards like buying a mountain bike. It was like, well, I want a bike that's going to be thought out for me. So that's, I think as a brand like Liv, yeah, it's only going to get better. Like they're only going to push, I think they'll push bikes forward for women, and even their kit, like everything, it's pretty cool that they're happy to just put a load of money and make up, I think it was like 40% of Giant, like is in margins. They're huge, they're really big. Yeah, it's not like,
interesting.
Yeah, they are top of their game. Like, so they're making a lot of money on the, like when you compare it to Giant, they're making up a big revenue for Giant as a whole.
That's really interesting. What do you see then as your like role within mountain biking? You're someone that has quite a strong sort of social media presence, but you're not. You've done some races, but you're not like, you don't have that because of racing or anything. Like what do you see as your role within this community?
You know, influencer. God, I hate that word so much. No, I do not class myself as that. I do not. But I guess in a way I do. Like I do maybe influence. I have no idea. So awkward. I don't know. Like I think I just want to ride my bike and have fun. Like that to me is the goal. Like when I go out, I just want to have fun riding my bike. That's why I ride my bike. It's not like I like racing. I do enjoy it, and I would happily race all the time if I was made of money, but I'm not. So I don't race all the time. If someone paid me to race, I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. But I think for me, like mountain biking is I just want to have fun riding my bike, and I think that's what I want to like encourage via social media, or even if I meet people. Like I think I don't know, like that's what I want to sort of portray. I want to just be like, no, it's a really fun sport, do it. Like go out with your mates, like make mates. Like if you know your friends don't do it, because imagine if you're a girl, like all my girlfriends don't ride bikes, but I've made other girlfriends because I ride bikes. So yeah, I think for me, like that's what I try and just put across, is just have fun, ride a bike. It doesn't matter how bloody good you are. Like who cares if you're not doing that jump that everyone started doing, or just have a laugh. Like, and if you want to race, like to me, like it's not one or the other. It's just if I want to race, like some races I do because I know they're a really good race. I know, like my mates would be like, oh yeah, really good trails there, you want to do that enduro race, like Raceway, like everyone banged on about how good that would be. So like, oh, I got to do it, like I've got to go and do that race because it sounds really good. So like, or even Ard Rock, like that is such a great weekend. So it's just sort of, I don't know, yeah, it's just having
have fun.
Yeah, like just
Totally.
yeah, I do, like I love racing, but I wouldn't say it's at the top of my list of things.
Yeah.
Mainly because of money. It's just so expensive, as you probably know. Like it's just
Definitely, yeah, absolutely.
you got to put everything into it. I'm getting old. Like, like I'm
Yeah,
never gonna be I'm never gonna be the best thing in the world. So sort of, I'm getting too old now to be injured all the time, even though I am.
Yeah, it's interesting how much like social media has changed mountain biking. I've had this conversation with a couple of people in previous podcasts, but like when I first started racing, it was like the magazines and race results, and you kind of had to get race results to get into the magazines. And if you were in Scotland, you were kind of disadvantaged already because you weren't near magazines. Whereas now, it's completely changed. I mean, there's people like big names that aren't necessarily the fastest riders. Like most of the sort of big mountain bikers are still like incredible riders, but you get a lot more now. We were talking just before we started the podcast about another giant athlete, Paul the punter, we were just talking about how he's on Giant. But you would never have previously got someone with such a big following who wasn't like the best racer. But it's got to help encourage more people into the sport.
Yeah, it's weird because like my boyfriend, he's not got a huge social media, like, you know, he hasn't got the whole social media thing going on. He's got a few thousand, but everyone knows his name. If you've raced for years and years and years, you know his name because that's what was then, if you know what I mean. Like if you got good results, if you got on the podium, like, because I got into sport really late where things were starting to change. That's how you get sponsored, with your race results. Like that's how you would get a decent sponsor. Whereas now, like you said, it's what it seems to be. And even, you know, for myself included, like I'm not a racer. I wouldn't class myself as a racer. I've been offered loads of opportunities just because, you know, I ride a bike and I have fun doing it. Like, but I guess you got to see it from a marketing side, haven't you? Is that, let's be honest, what's going to sell more? Someone that races, but no one, like only the race scene know that person, or someone that, so it kind of makes sense that people are given these opportunities to represent brands or go to places or whatever because of their social media. They might not be the best rider in the world, but they're actually like a marketing dream, aren't they? Like it's just
totally. And it's interesting as well. You can think of it from a sort of marketing perspective, and especially my perspective as a racer who was kind of got into it before the social media really changed racing. And you could say like, it used to just be about race results. Now, you know, athletes have to be these like marketing sort of machines as well on their, you know, Instagram or whatever. But actually, there's way more people into the sport now. Partly probably as a result of social media and as a result of these athletes with attracting these huge followings. So that's only a good thing. I mean, there is a lot more and more people into the sport.
Yeah. I think, well, you know, obviously being a girl riding bikes, whatever, with like social media, that's going to be more accessible, I think, to look at if you're a girl, because that's achievable, isn't it? Like if you're looking at a girl riding a bike and she's done like whatever she's done, that's inspiring. I'm inspired by other women riding that ride bikes, you know, better than me, or they race, or like I want to watch them like on YouTube or Instagram. Like I'm interested in that, and I feel like I want to try that, I want to do that. So yeah, it's going to get more people into the sport because it's more relatable. Whereas if you're following a grown man, like as a girl, like, yeah, okay, it's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I do follow loads of guys that ride bikes and they're bloody awesome, but I don't look at someone doing a double backflip and think, yeah, I'll do that on the weekend. I look and go, oh, that's really cool, but no.
Not for me.
It's not for me. But it's like a weird one, because like I think you probably know that, yeah, you have the whole marketing side of it, and you've got all these people popping up that might not be the best riders in the world, and they're given these opportunities. And then you've got, I totally get the other side of it, where you've got racers that feel like they're cut short because they're not given that opportunity because they don't have whatever 50,000 followers on Instagram. Which is, I get that. Like, I've had stick for it because I'm not a racer, and there's girls that race and they're not given a bike or kit or whatever. So I totally get that, and I would maybe feel the same. I see their side of it, because they're not having that opportunity. Because if you're a brand, who are you going to pick? Not all brands, or not everyone's got the same, strategy, but it's sort of that complicated situation, isn't it? And if you're a girl in the sport as well, it's so much harder to get sponsorship. It's so much harder to get that support, because there's not as many women doing it, and brands don't want to put their money into it as much as they put into the men. So I think it's a really, I don't know, a bit of a sensitive topic that I feel really lucky on my side of it. Like, I didn't expect any of this when I started riding a bike. I didn't think that Liv would approach me. I didn't think that I'd have opportunities because I was riding a bike. I was just super duper fortunate, and I'm like I do not take that for granted whatsoever. Whereas I don't know, it's a weird one, isn't it? But yeah, like you said, if you're a racer, you kind of need to do the whole, try and do the social media thing.
Yeah, I think it's
the
just
best out of it.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't actually have. I was a racer that was like didn't really post, and then like as a purist.
Purist. That's such a good word for it.
But yeah, I don't have any sympathy for my younger self, or for anyone that isn't anymore, because professional sport only exists because of marketing. So that's all an athlete ever was: race results or no race results. As far as a brand is willing to pay them to do that, is like, you're an advert, and we want you to ultimately get more people into the sport and show them our bikes and sell our bikes. So yeah, I think racers complaining about people who are better, sort of promoting themselves on social media, you just need to shut up, because they're not, they don't have the perspective on where their actual value is, and where the sort of money comes from in the sport.
Yeah, it is like like social media is not easy. Like, anyone that obviously is into social media or does social, it's not easy. It's not something that just, you have to spend a lot of effort on it. Like, I didn't just post a picture and then like, oh wow, that's amazing, like 10,000 followers. It doesn't just happen like that. So yeah, you've got to just work at it, haven't you? I think. And if you're going to do racing, it's not the back in the day when you had magazines, is it? When you would get into that magazine and you'd buy the magazines, because back then everyone would buy magazines. The amount of surf magazines I owned was insane. But that's where I got all my pictures and information and what was going on within the sport. Whereas now we've got Instagram telling us what's going on. We've got Facebook. We've got TikTok appearing. Like, it's all, we're getting all our information from everywhere else. And unfortunately, like, yeah, it's kind of, well, not unfortunately, it's good. I think it gives people opportunities, doesn't it,
to learn about stuff
more. Yeah, to learn about.
Do you think there's anything? Do you find anything that's difficult about, especially now you're partnered with Liv Cycles, and you're kind of people are in a way relying on you to be using social media and posting things. Is there anything you find like hard or like damaging about being on such a presence on social media, or having quite a presence on social media?
I don't know, not anymore. I think maybe before, like when I first was with Liv Cycling, because it obviously is a big brand. It is a big brand, and I'd only been riding for like 7 months. I hadn't been a long time, like, so I was pretty like, oh crap, this is like, I was never going to say no to them, because like, I bloody love the brand. So yeah, I think at the beginning I was definitely like, oh god, I need to be doing this, I need to like make sure I represent them. I need to make sure I like represent myself properly. And obviously that's like, you want to be the best you can for the people that you've, you know, made promises to. And whereas now I think I'm a bit more like, I'm not like, I know where I stand, if you know what I mean. Like I'm a bit more comfortable with, I don't feel like there's a huge amount of pressure unless I put that pressure on myself, if you know what I mean. Because I don't know, it's the relationships, isn't it, that you have with brands, is that you build it up, and you know, they tell you what they want or they don't want, and you just work with that. And I don't know, Liv, like for me, they're so good. Like they're really, there's no like, you need to post 20 times a week. There's none of that. It's just sort of like, ride your bike, have fun. Like ride your bike, have fun, and document your story. Like write some really nice blogs for us that we can put out for other women, like other bits of information. And then the other brands that I work with as well are the same. There's no, you know, I think some brands can be quite, you know, you need to post 3 times a week, or you need to so yeah, I think maybe I'm a bit lucky in that sense. I don't have that huge pressure on me, but then I don't think I'd appreciate the pressure either, as I work full time. So there's only so much you can do when you have a full-time job.
Nice. Yeah, very true. I wanted to talk to you about surfing, just mainly for selfish reasons. I am getting into surfing. I wonder what advice do you have for anyone getting into? It's like flip it round. So as an older person getting into a different sport that's not mountain biking, what advice would you have for me?
Get a good board. Don't get a short board and think that you're going to be able to surf it. It's not going to happen.
I've already bought a board, so I tried not to do that. I didn't want to do that, but I am a little bit worried because everything was going out of stock. So I bought it's basically a foam board. It's from Softtech because it was kind of cheap, and I wanted to get a board with lots of volume because everyone says don't be an idiot and didn't want to get a short board. But so it's got 50 liters of volume, which is good, but it's 6'6". I think that's a bit short.
Oh yeah, fine. No, I don't know how much you weigh, but that'll be all right. I'm talking like when people buy like a 5'4" short board or something ridiculous, and it's like this thin. Yeah, then you're gonna struggle. Also, I would just get in as much as you can. You can't go surfing once a week and think you're gonna get better. It's not gonna happen. Like you need, no, seriously, it won't happen. You need to get in all the time, like 4 times a week. Like,
totally.
And get good at swimming. Because the better you are at swimming, the faster you can paddle into waves. And don't sit. Don't do this. No. And also, like a lot of people when they start out surfing, they sit there in the water. So you paddle out back, and they just sit there, and they just expect the waves to come to them. They just expect them all to just. You need to paddle. So if you see there's a peak like 20 meters to the left, paddle for the set. Don't just sit there and hope that you're gonna catch that wave, because you're not.
It's
what
not
else?
gonna happen.
Oh, doing pop-ups at home. I used to put tape in my living room down the floor, and I used to just do like whatever pop-ups at home, just like in the morning, just do 20 pop-ups, or just to get into that rhythm. Because the faster you are at popping up, the easier life will be.
Totally.
And
good advice.
Your paddle technique as well. You want to be scooping like underneath the board.
As not like skimming
down.
Not like that.
No. You want to kind of like scoop underneath the board. You get way more like power behind that. And when you think you've caught the wave, never trust it. Just keep paddling a bit more. I always do like 3 extra paddles, even when I think I've got the wave, unless I know like I'm going to go over the falls. Just do a few extra paddles just to make sure you're on it.
Cool. Now that's good advice. I'm going to start practicing pop-ups immediately.
Do it. Seriously, it's great.
No, I will. I mean, I already will. I got my board. It's annoying because I've got a board. I got my girlfriend a board. And then I was so excited. I was just like, it's interesting starting a new sport and having that kind of experience, because I was so young when I got into mountain biking, and I'm just kind of used to being, good at it and knowing everything about it. And then so starting a new sport, it's been such a sort of interesting and exciting kind of thing. And I was doing like pop-ups like on the board when it arrived, but then lockdown came. So I'm looking forward to when we're allowed, maybe in a month or so, back out.
How close do you live to the beach?
Belhaven Bay, which apparently is is a really good beginner beach.
Yeah.
It's just half an hour away.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you live really close.
Yeah, which is super close. It's interesting, actually. We're going kind of off topic here, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. The second time, so I've been 3 times. We had a lesson at Belhaven the first time, and then I just hired some boards at this other place that had a much stronger rip, and I had no idea. Like, I didn't like. It's interesting. I watch like surfing videos and stuff, but you don't know. It's the same with mountain biking. Like, people will watch people come down the hill, and they don't know about, like, most of the time we're just cycling around forests, like, going up to the trails. And surfing probably even more so. Like, I hadn't really thought about the getting out, paddling out, and like the currents and how hard it was. So the third time I went, we got there and there was no one else there, and like I could hardly even stand in the water. Without, like, it was just like ripping me underneath, and then the wave like pulled me up, and then I just got slammed down on the beach. And we had these big fat boards, so I tried to paddle out and just got like, it's like I was in a washing machine a bunch of times, and then just like gave up.
Gave up.
But that was so Belhaven apparently is like, I didn't know what would make it a good beginner beach until I went to this other beach, and then I was like, oh, Belhaven's got like these quite flat sands, like really big kind of beach. There's no rocks or anything anywhere.
Yeah, it's the steep beaches you want to watch out for, because those are the ones where the waves are just like bam.
Yeah.
Whereas the nice sort of flat beaches, you got a hell of a lot mellower wave coming in that isn't gonna, slam you so much unless it's a nice offshore.
How do you think the like communities, like we talked about sexism, or at least sexism basically. But aside from that, maybe how do you think the communities of mountain biking and surfing differ?
I don't know, because I started surfing when I was 10, so I think they're on par in a way. Like surfing, it's like mountain biking. You go to a beach. Like I haven't surfed properly for probably, like, I don't know, 2.5 years. Like since the mountain biking, really, I kind of stopped surfing, and I was surfing all the time. But yeah, with surfing, it's like you go to the beach and there'll be people that you saw the last time. Like mountain biking, you go to the car park, it's like, oh, hi Alex, saw you here like 2 weeks ago. It's the same community feel. And then if you like compete with surfing, it's just, everyone, like, people that surf. It's like mountain biking, mountain bikers, the ones that actually mountain bike and mountain bike often. And with surfing, it's the same, like, really nice community that you can go to a beach. Like I could go down to a beach in Devon, and there's most likely someone that I know in the water that I saw like 5 years ago, because it's just that sort of community. And especially where I was living in a town called Porthcawl, which is a little like seaside town. And obviously we have like a surf club and have like monthly beers in the pub, and there's a proper community, like a really nice community. Whereas mountain biking, I think it's a bit more spread out. That's the only thing I say in mountain biking. Like, you've got a community, unless you're like up in like Inners, where they seem to have like some epic mountain bike community. We don't have that in South Wales. Well, everyone, but I wouldn't say it was the same, like, close knit. Especially with surfing, you'd have like beach wars in a way, like, because you go, like, the surf would be good, and it'd be good at like the town down the road. So you'd be going to their beach, and then they'd be like, "Oh, like, what are you doing at our spot?"
Beach. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And then you got local.
It's probably a bit like that, actually. It's probably a bit like that mountain biking in Scotland. Like, we're very much part of the sort of Innerleithen Tweedlove community, but then there's like an Inverness community of like Fort William, a little bit of a Fort William community. I'm conscious of the time, Crystal. We'll try and keep this. So we've gone a little bit over an hour. We'll try and kind of keep them to an hour. Otherwise, we're scared no one will be willing to commit to listening to it. I've just got just a couple more questions for you. What are your plans, or what are your hopes, ambitions, or plans for the future?
What, mountain biking?
Yeah, mountain biking. Yeah. Not all of them.
Well, the bathroom, need to do that. God, I don't know. I want to do more racing. I think this year is going to be a write-off. So I'm not even like thinking. I want to obviously do like some of the like British rounds, like the enduro rounds, and like Ard Rock and Malvins. Like I want to do that. But overall, like with mountain biking, I don't know. I just want to travel more with it. I'd like to go to more countries and experience like just different sides to mountain biking, and like just different trails and just everything, and obviously keep progressing like that to me. Like I don't want to just, I don't know, plateau. I'd like to keep getting better and keep pushing myself. And then like with Liv, or I really would like to get just keep getting like as many women into sport. If I can help with that, I want to do that. Like that's like up there on my list. Like whatever I can do to like support girls, whether they send me DMs and ask me like, you know, what trousers I'm wearing or what bike I've got, or, you know, trails in the local area. Like if I can just keep being like, I don't know, positive influence, then yeah, that to me, like at the moment for mountain biking is what I just want to keep doing. Just keep pushing things in every way, in every avenue.
So that's good. And then finally, what advice would you give to someone like yourself, maybe an older woman, older just
Thanks.
relative terms, older just in terms of, I just mean like I'm an older person getting into surfing.
You're not that old.
I'm not, but it feels, well, I suppose it feels, I was like, we were talking about skateboarding at the beginning, and I got into skateboarding, I still kind of want to, I still like, it seems really fun, but like going to a skate park as a sort of 25-year-old and just not being very good at it,
judged.
it just feels, it's embarrassing.
I call them the elderly skater
and it's probably
boys.
the same. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's fine if you're good at it, but it just feels like when you're like fumbling around and falling off things and stuff, it definitely feels, you got to get over that kind of embarrassment, which is probably the same, like was similar for yourself getting into mountain biking, was it?
Yeah, I think with mountain biking, like I don't know what I was thinking of, like obviously blowing like $2,500 for the bike, like that looking back was pretty madness. That's a very big risk to take for something I've done about 3 times before. But yeah, I don't like, I don't know. I don't know. What, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know.
Just go and do it.
I think, yeah, I think if it's something that you want to do, I know we've all got huge insecurities, like our own insecurities, our own confidence, but there's always avenues. I think you can find a way around it. Like, especially like maybe mountain biking is a male dominated sport. Like it is just guys everywhere. And for a lot of women, like even myself included, I remember taking my bike out of like the when I had my own bike at this point, and I remember taking it out of the back of the car and like putting the wheel on, and I felt like I didn't even know what I was doing. But I felt like the whole car park was staring at me. I just felt so anxious. I felt so stupid. I was like even like, is the kit I'm wearing, is that cool? Like, am I fitting in? I just want to blend. I want to blend with everyone else. But I think it's completely normal to feel that way. I think if you start a new sport, it does make you feel like you're out of your comfort zone. You know, it does. It's all a learning curve, isn't it? Like trying to just figure out what you should be doing. Like, or like, you know, surfing, like you're doing it, you're probably thinking, am I here at the right time at the beach?
Yeah, I saw the same things as you do.
Yeah, is my wetsuit on backwards? Like,
yeah.
You know, like,
is this board? Are people going to judge this board? Yeah. Is this board stupid? I knew it was stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, did I put the fins on backwards? Like, it's sort of, is that then the same with like mountain biking? When I started mountain biking, and if you're going to get into it, like, I think you just have to face like the fact that you're going to feel weird. You're going to feel like an absolute pleb. Like, you're going to feel totally unconfident. You're going to go down trails and maybe want to cry at the bottom because you don't know how you made it down. or you get home and your legs ache so much, but you've only done 5 miles because your legs have never. I remember like some hills that when I first started, and this is the thing, if you get into mountain biking, isn't it? Fitness is a huge part of it, which hadn't factored into my grand plan of mountain biking. So I was running and like whatever, get surfing and stuff. I hadn't done like cycling, hadn't done any distance cycling, and there's hills that I'd have to stop like 4 times. Like, so now that I'll do them 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, like, and I'm fine. Whereas there's one particular hill in Cwmcarn that I remember I'd have to stop like at every flipping hairpin or whatever it's called, like every corner I'd have to stop and have a little break. So I think that comes with it. Like if you start mountain biking, you're gonna have to face facts that
Just accept
you're gonna
it,
I forgot my wheel one time mountain biking. I left it at home. Like you're gonna do it. You're gonna forget your shoes.
I still do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I forgot my bike once.
Did you?
Yeah.
That is next level. How do you even manage that?
I just assumed it was in the van for some reason. I got down there, Crystal was there, and then I was like,
so
right,
funny.
let's go. I jumped into the back to get my bike, and I was like, oh, I'm not going mountain biking. I don't have a bike.
How far had you travelled?
Like an hour.
Oh my god, that's so crap.
Yeah, just went for a
That's
run
bad.
and mountain bike shoes from memory. Yeah.
That's so bad. I've done it before. You know when you forget your shoes and the only shoes you're wearing are like, I remember I had these furry boots. I forgot my mountain bike shoes and I had to go mountain biking like in these ridiculously furry boots. But that was when I first started riding, and I felt, not only did I feel stupid on a mountain bike, I felt extra stupid because I was wearing furry boots.
Yeah, but it's all just in your head, pretty much. So you just need to.
Yeah,
just go
it's completely like. I think if you're going to try a new sport, whether it's going to the gym, like it's going to feel weird. You just feel like everyone's staring at you, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or you're going to die. Yeah. Like I guess you've had a few like moments surfing where you're like, how much salt?
Yeah, everything, because it's all unknown. You're like, wait, do people even go surfing in these waves? These are like, this seems really scary. Maybe I'm being an idiot.
Yeah, the good thing about surfing, though, if you turn up at a car park and no one's there, you know it's bad.
Yeah, that was what happened the third time I went. Yeah.
That's usually a sign like this is not a good spot. People aren't
that's
here
some good
for a
advice
very
as
good
well.
reason. Whereas